Hello pumpkins and welcome back to another video. We are gonna be discussing some of the amazing comments y'all left on the last video of Epic. I loved all of them. There were so many funny ass ones. I was laughing my own butt off. Thank you so much for those. You can see those on the screen right now. I'm just like flashing them because there were so many and I just want to make sure every single one of them gets their own little spot here. I am gonna do this video song by song. I have collected some of the comments that I find really interesting and people were like pointing out really interesting stuff. So I'm gonna start with the challenge, and if I feel like, oh, with this comment I wanna show the video, I'll show the video. But for some of them I feel like it's not needed. So thank you so much for commenting. Thank you so much for all of the support y'all left on the ITHACA Saga. Like I said in that video, please like and subscribe. It will mean the absolute world to me. At 500 subscribers, I'll do a video training my rats. And if we are able to reach 1k, we get to transform this guy into whatever we want. So leave your suggestions in the comments. The most liked comment will actually dress him up as and force him to do a cosplay. So that is exciting stuff. But before we get started as well, get yourself a drink, get yourself a snack, get comfortable, because you deserve it. You deserve the world, you deserve to stay healthy, and it is good if you hydrate. I am here with my own cup today. I have my little cinnamon roll cup. It's filled to the brim with my chocolate milk again because it's still Christmas time. I'm also getting kind of sick because of it. I am enjoying Christmas a little too much, but it's okay. We don't care. So get yourself a snack, get yourself a drink as well because you deserve it. I'm going off of these comments song by song, and if I feel like there is gonna be like a song we need to play or a little part we need to play, I'll do that to actually showcase what the comments are about. We're gonna start off with a comment from Godspeed, and it says, ironically, the suitors are singing their own fate. Time is running out for them, and it's time for Odie to be the man of the house. And that's such a good, point actually, because indeed, if we listen to the ITHACA Saga, and we go to the challenge, so they are indeed singing. It says time is fleeting, it's running out. It's time to be the man of the house. And indeed, it's as if they're actually saying that to Odie, because time is indeed running out for them and time is fleeting out for them. And it is indeed time for Odie to be the man of the house. So I thought that was a really good point. We move on from the challenge because I only had one comment for the challenge. We move on to Hold Them Down. And we're gonna start off with a comment from Christopher. Amazing touch that somebody else noticed is that in Hold Them Down, Odie's voice can be heard faintly in the chorus, which means he was hiding among the crowd. And so D9 Gamer also says Hold Them Down Odie is actually singing in the background, and as the song progresses and the more he hears about the plan, he sings louder and louder until the end, and he kills Antinius. So let's also get a little snippet of that. Okay, so this is like near the end of the song. So I believe we should be able we should be able to hear Odysseus louder. Okay, yes, I feel like you can indeed hear Odysseus there. So that was also a very fascinating point for me. And really, also if I'm saying any of these wrong, I am so sorry. I'm really bad at pronouncing things. I like how Antinius keeps singing, channel the fire inside your soul. And Odysseus, somewhere in the background, is doing exactly that. And raging. Literally. Odysseus is like, thanks for the advice, Antinius. I am gonna be raging on you. And I also love how literally, like, after the whole thing about, like, literally after channel the fire inside your soul, that's when Odysseus gets shot. The fire inside your soul and hold him down, 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 channel the fire inside your soul. So he kind of literally followed his advice there, didn't he? Don't we love that? By the way, this fact is disturbing to me. we have to, I'm gonna let y'all listen to what he actually wanted to do to Telemachus before I read you this comment, because that is important. So we're gonna skip back to that part.
Here and now, there's a chance
I freaked out so much when I heard this the first time.
We can take control. Here and now, burn it down to ashes. Channel the fire inside your soul.
This part.
Haven't you noticed who's missing? Don't you know the prince is not around? I heard he's on a diplomatic mission, and I heard today he comes back to town. So I say we gather near the beaches. I say we wait till he arrives. Then when he docks his ship, we can breach it. Let us leave now, today we can strike it. Hold him down till the boy stops shaking. Hold him down while I slit his throat. Hold him down while I slowly break his pride, his trust, his faith, and his bones. Cut him down into tiny pieces. Throw him down in the great below. When the crown wonders where the prince is, only the ocean and I will know. And when the deed is done, the queen...
Okay, so he wanted to actually cut him into pieces, throw him into the ocean, which, I'll now read the comment, from Honey Bear Woos, I think. I'm so sorry once again if I'm saying that wrong. By the way, if a warrior's body was cut to pieces, he can't receive a proper burial, and therefore his soul never reaches the underworld. So they wanted to make sure Tele never got the comfort even after death. And that sounds horrible to me. That literally showcases how much of just a terrible and horrible human being, of what kind of a monster Antinous is. Even like in my mind, Charybdis and Scylla kind of still are like having to survive, and that's why they kill. And even Odysseus is like the monster, but he's still killing out of necessity. In a sense, well, not necessity, but like a way of self-preservation. That's why he became the monster. Antinous is literally just like doing this to Telemachus. For what? Like, you already said you'd slit his throat, so he's already dead. But then still, just out of spite, completely chop him into parts and then throw it into the ocean so he doesn't get a proper burial, and he's not even able to get peace after death. Like, what is this boy gonna do to you in death? That's so bad that you're gonna have to destroy his soul. Like, that's just a whole different evil. Like, that's a whole different level of just pure and utter evilness in my eyes. Like, Antinous is just, throughout this whole thing, just the worst. Like, the sirens still, they did it to Eve as well, you know, like, Poseidon is kind of trying to prove a point of, like, I am a god and I am mighty. Zeus was just being Zeus. Antinous, what the fuck? He's a boy. Leave our boy alone. But that just, it adds so many layers, and it disturbs me so and so much more, that I just go like, Poof. And then the next comment as well, it's from Ed I am the Walking Dead. I am Walking Dead. If you want to feel even more uncomfortable, which we don't, but we're gonna read it anyway, so no. And when a comment starts like that, you already know it's gonna be awful. During the part where Antinous is describing how he'll SA Penelope, the viola sounds like it's screaming no, which is Penelope's instrument. I already kind of touched on that in the video, like in the reaction video, because her cries are like music to him. That point wanted to make me throw up. Antinous is just a disgusting being. Just a disgusting being. I have no other words for it. He's just disgusting, wretched. I'm happy he died. I kind of would have liked it even better if it wasn't just an arrow to the throat, because he kind of died easy in my opinion. You know, some of the other suitors had like worse fates than he did in my eyes. Correct me if I'm wrong, but like I wanted Antinous to just be... Antinous should have had the fate he wished for Penelope and Telemachus. Dude, but let's listen to like that part as well, where the viola actually runs.
Room door, stop us from taking her love and more. And then we'll hold her down while her gate is open. Hold her down while I get a taste. While we share her spoils, I will not let any part go to waste.
That's the same melody as like another part where somebody said no in the series. I forgot where it was, but I know it's definitely meant to just be Penelope screaming no. And it's so fucked up. Just so fucked up. Moving on. Sorry for that. Moving on to Odysseus, where our boy is just fucking up suitors left and right. I have a lot of comments about that song, which I love, because to be honest, my boyfriend and I were like discussing, and Odysseus is definitely one of our favorite songs. We had it on repeat in the car. When I have to focus while driving, I always play like the most intense of songs, because then I'm just on, like my body is just focused. So it's Ruthlessness, Thunderbringer, Odysseus as well, Charybdis. I'm saying it right now, I hope, because I don't want to be disrespectful and say Charybdis. It's Charybdis, I believe. Someone corrected me in the comments. Thank you so much. So those types of songs I just love, and I listen to them and I'm able to focus. We're moving on to Odysseus. Havana says, you can also hear the guitar riff from the beginning of 600 Strike with a chant of Odysseus that mirrors the style of Polyphemus back in Survive. So if anyone was unsure that Odysseus is about to fuck up those suitors, lol. And I thought that was a very good point out. That's a very fair point, to be honest. The guitar riff from the beginning of 600 Strike. So we have to go back actually to 600 Strike. And we're gonna play that real quick. Okay, so you got that right? I'll just let it play. Okay, if we go back to Polyphemus.
My brothers, the rest of our fleet, they wait at the beach, and if we're defeated, then good is dead. Straight ahead, that is who we're fighting. No backup.
I don't know about you, but I feel like they are in fact really similar. Could that also mean that maybe, I'm just throwing this out there right now, I'm getting this thought. Could that also mean that maybe Polyphemus wasn't a monster, but like he became a monster once his sheep got harmed? And that's how he became a monster, and it's also really similar to Odysseus, because Odysseus is now going full-blown monster on the suitors because he heard them talking like that about his son and his wife, so people he cared about, and for Polyphemus it was his sheep he cared about. And that made Polyphemus into the monster where he started crushing the visitors, and like that same moment played out for Odysseus, so it's really similar, just a thought. Then we're moving on to Glitched Moon. To be fair, Eurymachus, the one asking to be forgiven, was the most genuine guy who had little interest in harming Penelope nor Telemachus to get to them. He was the one suitor who was genuinely nice to them, and some say tried to protect them from the other suitors. Yes, he may have wanted to sit on that throne, but he was a far better person than his competition. Yes, he was also supposed to die. Strings were pulled to ensure that. I still want to find out which strings were pulled to actually ensure that. And yeah, I do believe there were also probably suitors that were not going along with Antinous. But I would have also liked to see them stand up against Antinous. You know, maybe they could have like not been bystanders in a way. Know what I mean? But yeah, I don't know how to explain that point, but I do believe that yes, to be fair, Eurymachus did sound like he wanted peace, and he may have actually been peaceful, and he could have, you know, had a second chance. But I also do understand that Odysseus at that point is completely flipping out, because also during the speech of Antinous, nobody was standing up against Antinous, and they were just allowing him to just keep talking like that. So from Odysseus' perspective, I do get why at that point just everybody's your enemy, and you have nothing to lose, because you feel like nobody's on your side. It's not as if Odysseus had a moment where he could just be like, let me just sit down, screen you a little bit, see if you're a good guy. No, it was just full on side. Like, he just got home from Poseidon, and he's hearing people talk about his wife and his son that he came back to see after 20 years. He's hearing people talk about them like that, and nobody's stepping in. I do get why he's at that point just mad on everybody, to be honest. Then we have a comment from Fungus Knight. Fun fact, that one guy wasn't lying, most of the suitors were chill and followed Amphinius, who was a kind and courteous. I can't talk. I'm sorry. Another guy who was more cunning, like Odie himself. Yeah, I do get that. And I do think those guys were probably good people. But still, they should have said something about Aeneas' speech, man. That shit's horrifying. How can you stand by and just like, probably frozen in fear, to be honest. I really like the TikToks of like the one suitor that realizes that he should not be there and then like walks away. I feel like they should have kind of done that or something. I don't know. I don't know how to explain how I feel about that. No, but I do believe there were people that didn't deserve to die at the hands of Odysseus in that crowd of suitors. But once again, I also understand kind of why Odysseus is going just rampant at that point. Because you do not know who is and who isn't a bad guy in that crowd. But still, it is a bit much. It's I get the point. Eurymachus probably didn't deserve to die. My favorite line is, now, you think I don't know my own palace? I build it. I do wish there was one song where it talks about his old man disguise, but I also am thinking that he was disguised a different way. He could have been wearing a cloak and time had passed since. Oh, maybe because his age, he didn't get recognized. I think it was indeed because of his age. I feel like he was a very withered old man by now. He's been through a lot. He's just gotten away from a fight with Poseidon. I feel like he did not have time to shave in the meantime, or actually do his hair or any of that, or like fix his clothes. He's probably still wearing the clothes that he left Troy with. So I feel like nobody would recognize him in that case. He probably already looked like an old man at that point. I do still feel bad for like the suitors that did not deserve it. I also heard that there was like a guy that was friends with Telemachus and actually got out of it because Telemachus was like, no, you're not hurting him. He's my actual friend and he was fighting on our side. And Odysseus was like, peace, bro. I get it. So yeah, that's a very complex situation. The thing about like getting back at the suitors, that is a very complex thing to actually, you know? So yeah, I get it. That's like the whole thing about, you know, the shades of grey that there are. It's never gonna be black and white. Never. The one guy I really wanted to see killed is just Antinous. Apart from that, also the suitors that were completely on his side and also wanting to do the same thing. Get them killed as well. The other ones could have gone to jail or something. I don't know. But I do also get why Odysseus went completely ham. Because you can't talk about somebody like that. I'm also very happy that he was stepping in, because I would have not liked anything like that to have happened to Penelope. That's horrifying. We're moving on to Petite Blue Cipher. I realized that the song has a lot of parallels to the song Polyphemus from the music, to the chorus going Odysseus. Just like how it went Polyphemus in his song. It is also Odysseus coming back to find a group of people in his home that's been plotting to hurt his family, just like how Polyphemus came to his cave to find men plotting to kill his sheep, and having already killed one. Yes, that point. He gets offered peace and is asked, like literally the spots were changed. Like even the speech was so similar to like Odysseus' speech to Polyphemus and then the speech of Eurymachus to Odysseus. Like the spots were literally changed. That's so interesting. Fair enough. He gets offered peace and is asked to spare the man, yet he refuses, just like Polyphemus. I suppose we can say that this time Odysseus himself is in the place of the Cyclops. I don't even know if that's intentional. I just realized that while listening to Odysseus for the first time, but knowing Jay, it probably is, to be honest. And obviously, the Scylla reference, keep your head down, he's aiming for the torches, makes one remember of the way Scylla spoke to him. We are the same, you and I. That's true. Anyways, yes, I love the song. And 12 minutes, yeah. 12 minutes I'm yapping. I'm sorry. Yeah, no, fair. Please keep yapping. I love yapping. No, but that's so right. Like, he is in the exact shoes of Polyphemus. I'm gonna compare those moments to each other. But literally, Scylla reference of like, keep your head down, he's aiming for the torches, including Scylla saying, we are the same, you and I. They are. They're both monsters. They're both trying to survive. Because that's the same thing of like, we'll do what it takes to survive. She said it to him, like, and then we are the same, you and I. It's such... They're both monsters, but not for the sake of like, Antinous is a sadistic, completely lost, like, no empathy kind of monster. But like Scylla and Odysseus are in a way just trying to survive, and they kind of got to see the entire world as their enemy. And it's a survival system. So indeed, they are very similar. How about we listen to it? We're gonna listen to... We have Polyphemus again, of course. Okay, I can't find it right now, but I did notice the whole Odysseus thing as well.
Oh, King, our leader is dead. You've destroyed the serpent's head. Now the rest of us are no longer a threat. Oh, King, forgive us instead, so that no more blood is shed. Let's have open arms instead. No.
And then we have the whole speech in Polyphemus.
Damage, maybe you and I can make a deal. I'll give you our finest treasure, so long as we leave alive. You can keep the world's best tasting wine.
Wine.
Have a drink, one sip and you'll understand the power that's in your hands. A wine so fresh, you'd never want to eat human flesh again. Then we shall be on our way. No bloodshed in here today. A trade you see, a gift from you and a gift from me.
I'd like to thank you. Stranger, what's your name?
My name is Nobody. Nobody. Nobody.
Nobody. For your gift, I've one to reply.
I'm so glad we see eye to eye.
Yes, you shall be the final man to die.
What? Watch out!
So yeah, that was the part. But I'm also thinking about in like Ruthlessness, I think. It was also that kind of moment. Here we also have Odysseus literally doing the same thing to Poseidon. Where he also was having the entire talk of like, please no. And then Poseidon, and I feel like this moment is like, this moment specifically of like the part in Odysseus is specifically referencing this moment, I feel, as well. Because here he's basically portraying the ruthlessness of Poseidon. He is not letting him plead. Just like Poseidon didn't allow him to plead. And specifically the no, I feel like is very telling.
No harm, we only hurt him to disarm him. We took no pleasure in his pain. We only wanted to escape. The line between naivety and hopefulness is almost invisible, so close your hearts. The world is dark and ruthlessness is die.
So that was like the second attempt of Odysseus to actually plead for mercy. Oh, hello, hamster. I'm sorry, my hamster is doing the splits right now, but also licking his own bowl. I don't know why. But this was the second attempt of Odysseus to actually plead for mercy once. Now I'm quickly checking if there weren't any other spots where he did the same thing. In Thunderbringer, he immediately kind of had to accept it, because you can't really argue with Zeus, because at this point he got rejected so many times. I do not feel like he's gonna, hi, have you come here? Hello. I at this point feel like he was not expecting to actually be hurt anymore. In a mutiny he also did the same type of plea. But also in, of course, Get in the Water, he also had that whole plea, and that was when Poseidon actually said no to him. This part, right? Specifically this part is very, I feel like, interchangeable with that moment.
Poseidon, it's been 10 years, how long will this go? We're both hurting from losses, so why not leave this here and just go home? I can't.
Maybe
you could learn to forgive. No.
Odysseus literally used Poseidon's no. Literally. Literally. So that is such, like, he had those pleading moments. There were 3 times where actually Odysseus was the one pleading, and then we switched to Odysseus. And then he actually had Eurymachus in his place, and he was in this place of, like, Poseidon, and he used Poseidon's no to actually show and, like, put down that he is in fact now using ruthlessness in a way that Poseidon was as well.
Oh, King, our leader is dead. You've destroyed the serpent's head. Now the rest of us are no longer a threat. Oh, King, forgive us instead, so that no more blood is shed. Let's have open arms instead. No.
See, that was literally Poseidon's no. See what I mean? So this is literally, it's so good how many moments just connect with each other throughout this series. I'm gonna do like an entire rewatch of the entire series, because I want to nitpick, now that we know everything, I want to nitpick the heck out of this entire musical. So moving on to Aquatic Dot. I do still know, I now do feel bad for Eurymachus, because apparently that guy did have good intentions. Sad to hear him plead then. Also, the voice actor for Eurymachus actually has such an angelic voice as well. It's so beautiful. Everybody in this entire musical has such an angelic voice, and it just sounds so beautiful. Jeez. Bonus parallel. Oh, Aquatic Dot says, bonus parallel to Polyphemus. Odysseus kills Antinous and then tells them that he's had enough, which is the exact word Polyphemus used after killing Polites and then beginning the slaughter. Like, Odysseus is literally mimicking them to a T. We had Poseidon's no and Poseidon's ruthlessness. We now have Polyphemus's enough and then just slays them. So we're gonna go back to Polyphemus again. Love how many times we're revisiting him now. Okay, so we're gonna hear Polyphemus saying enough first, and then we're gonna listen to Odysseus saying enough. Okay, so we have that, and then we have...
Like Troy, worst of all, I hear you dare to touch my wife and hurt my boy! I have had enough.
Both ways of saying enough also sound way too similar. Once again, it's such a masterpiece, this musical, I swear. It's insane. Literally the parallels between Odysseus and just the other monsters is crazy. The suitors sing Odie's name in the melody of the danger motive, like the Polyphemus chant in Survive, indeed, in the song Odysseus. That's exactly. Also the way they're literally chanting Poseidon is like Poseidon, Poseidon, and I feel like that is also very similar to how they were chanting Odysseus. In my eyes. Now we're gonna go into like Telemachus territory. When Ten says, the thing is, remember the pup they were able to pummel. I'm bad at reading. The little wolf has discovered his ability to bite back and is no longer the pushover he used to be. So the animatic of Telemachus for the song Odysseus is awesome. I also love that the monster's electric guitar kind of went away as soon as Telemachus addressed him. Yeah, I pointed it out as well. Like the moment Telemachus actually addresses his father, that's when the electric guitar kind of dials down And Odysseus' monster kind of finally is able to start zoning out and like dialing down. Like he's not full on in the monster mode anymore. And I really love that because that means that he hurt his son and that kind of ripped him out of that mental headspace. Because I feel like it is a very traumatic response and just a complete... It's a defense mechanism. I feel like the monster in Odysseus that's all it is. It's a defense mechanism. It's a way of survival. So yeah, that is indeed awesome. We're gonna go back to Petit Blue Cipher again, who says, also, did you realize how many times Odysseus' name is being chanted in the song compared to the others? I mean, we know Zeus doesn't need introduction because he's the strongest, but take one of the gods like Poseidon, for example. We hear his name 7 times total in the Ruthless songs, beginning. Yet in the song Odysseus, it's a constant chant. And I think that's because he keeps being seen as a threat by different people. Like, okay, I don't know how to explain this, but... You know, in the song Polyphemus, we only hear Polyphemus when the battle is beginning. The threat is registered. And that's the same with Poseidon. His name is chanted only at the beginning of the song when he appears as a threat. And is a clear threat throughout. It's, I'd say, same with Scylla too. Since once she shows herself, she doesn't leave until she's done with eating 6 of them and leaves them alone. Yet it's not like that with Odysseus. He uses the darkness to hide his approaches, disappearing into the shadows before he appears before another one of the suitors and ends their life. Reasserting the threat over and over after momentary disappearances. And remember the rule of this musical, if the singer isn't a god, they cannot create divine choruses, so someone must be saying his name. Just imagine being buried in darkness, awaiting your inevitable fate while people scream, he's here, and the noises get closer and closer and you hear men falling dead, yet you cannot even see him approaching. I still love the way they don't see him coming until they are already impaled and are about to fall dead. Yes, I love this musical. Can you tell? I can. Petit Blue Cipher, yes. But that's such a good point out, because indeed in all the other songs it's like the person is standing right in front of them and then the whole chorus stops singing their name as if they're not chanting because they indeed know where the threat is and the threat is stable. Like they know where it is, it's recognized, it's in front of them. But with Odysseus, indeed, he stays being a very ominous threat in the background because we don't even get to see him fully. We see his shadow and they don't even get to see him at all. They don't know where he is, they don't know how to locate him, they don't know what they're fighting against, who they're fighting against. What I also loved was that Odysseus literally had no enemies in that crowd. Well, wait, I'm saying this wrong. Odysseus had only enemies in the crowd. So all these suitors couldn't just go around chopping everybody around them, because then they would be killing older suitors and be at risk of like killing their friend. Odysseus felt like he had nothing to lose. He could slice before even thinking about slicing. Like Polyphemus could with the sheep, just keep slamming around him. Odysseus could do the same thing because he didn't have friends that he could potentially slice up in the darkness. Odysseus was such a menace here. But indeed, I understand what you mean of like they keep chanting Odysseus throughout the entire song. Because Odysseus keeps being a threat that they cannot detect. They cannot stabilize in their mind. They do not have a fixed point where he is in that moment. And it's crazy. That's such a good point out. We have another comment from Agent 941. Is it just me? Or is the bow making the same noises as the club? Just different pitch. I also thought that.
Behind you!
I feel like that indeed matches the whole slamming with...
What are our orders? Captain! Captain!
I feel like the bow and arrow indeed does sound really similar to Polyphemus's club. Godbear says, I love the detail of the one suitor who keeps going. It was one thing when we thought Odysseus was dead. Now that he's home, it's over. The man's plans have plans. He's strong as hell and he's an incredible warrior. We can't win. I also loved that part and then loved that he immediately died after, as if he was trying to prove his point to the rest of the crowd. Let me whip it up.
Somewhere in the shadows lurks an agile, deadly foe. We We have the advantage, we've the
Yes.
numbers and the might.
No, you don't understand it. This man plans for every fight.
As if he was trying to prove to the other suitors that indeed this man's plans have plans. Now we're gonna talk about like the tactics. I want to get into the tactics part of all of Odysseus' tactics that he basically mimics, where he mimics the other monsters he's encountered. So we had Sam and Astrid point out, I think he tricked him into a fake safety, Cersei tactic. That was, I believe, at the moment where he actually had the suitors walk into the weaponry. And the fake sense of safety was like, oh, we actually have access to our weapons now. That's the same as Cersei being like, oh, come inside, I have food, you know, everything. Then we have Stormwrench saying, aims for the torches like Scylla, split them up like Cersei, ruthless like Poseidon, cornered them like Polyphemus, literally. I'm gonna rewatch the video clip in here, by the way. We're gonna go through them all. We have Jeff Pop saying, I love the callback to the song Cersei theme in the challenge, Polyphemus chant in Odysseus, etc. Literally. Literally. We're gonna watch the clips real quick. And we're gonna actually dissect it a little bit more. I hope y'all can see it good enough, but we're gonna watch it together. So...
Tears I've suffered every punishment and pain, from the wrath of gods and monsters to...
Also, I feel like up until now, Odysseus was always kind of standing with the crowd. And now he's also the one that's standing in front of the crowd, instead of, you know, being on the side of the others. Like, he is the singular threat. He is the monster. He is standing there on his own in front of the rest of the people. That's also kind of like how Poseidon was standing, how, you know, Scylla was standing, stuff like that.
Through the screams of comrades slain, I come back and find my palace desecrated, sacked like Troy. Worst of all, I hear you dare to touch my wife and
I also love that he said sacked like Troy, because he did that.
hurt my boy. I have had enough.
I also feel like the part of I have had enough sounds oddly similar to Poseidon being like, ruthlessness is mercy upon ourselves. And I'm sorry I'm saying that, but I'm a terrible singer. But I feel like that same intonation is used there. How he disappearing in the darkness, that reminds me of the way Scylla literally appeared. If y'all remember. Odysseus.
In the heat of battle at the edge of the unknown,
Somewhere in the shadows lurks an agile, deadly foe. We have the advantage, we've the numbers and the might.
No. You don't understand it. This man plans for every fight.
I also feel like Odysseus was smart enough to take like the smart people out first. Because the guy that actually was underestimating him is still running. But then the two people who actually saw that he was a threat and that he was that dangerous, they actually got shot first. That's the same thing of like, oh, I need to kill the wizard first in this D&D party, because the wizard can do the most damage, and the wizard is the smartest, so he can actually detect what can harm me the fastest. So I feel like that is a very smart tactic, to actually take out the smartest and strongest first.
Where is he? Where is he?
Keep your head down, he's aiming for the torches. Our weapons, they're missing.
He's using the darkness to hide his approaches.
We're empty-handed, up against an archer. Our only chance is to strike him in the darkness.
We know these odds, the odds can't be tilted.
You don't think I know my own palace? I built it.
This also kind of reminded me of that moment in Polyphemus where they were like, what are our orders? Captain? Captain! And like, that moment, I don't know why it feels similar to me. It just reminds me of that moment. Yeah, keep your torch up high, because that's gonna end well. That also went well for Scylla, with Scylla. Keep your head down, he's aiming for the torches, was a Scylla tactic, by the way. Remember that. Were there literally 6 people there? I don't recall, but if there were literally 6 people resembling the 6 torches for Scylla, that would have been... Wait. I have to go back to that moment. Oh no, don't you dare show your freaking face, Antonius. Oh my goodness, guys! Literally, look, there's 6 people when they were talking about the torches thing. That is literally a Scylla thing. 6 people holding the 6 torches, and they died. He took out all 6 people, like Scylla. We are the same, you and I.
Serpent's head. Now the rest of us are no longer a threat. Oh King, forgive us instead, so that no more blood is shed. Let's have open arms instead. No.
Okay, so as we remember, that's the same no as Poseidon, and that's literally similar to the 3 speeches Odysseus gave the other monsters. And he is now using the same way of ruthlessness that Poseidon and the other monsters use, where they do not even give a chance. Here, the door had been left unlocked. That's the part where I'm like, okay, that's a Cersei thing. That has to be a Cersei thing. You cannot convince me that that is not a Cersei thing. Like, my goodness. And so Odysseus, like, that's literally being like, come inside. Welcome to the best part of your lives. Like, that's luring them into a false sense of safety.
Damn, he's more cunning than I assumed. While we were busy plotting, he hid our weapons inside this room.
I find it hard to believe that the sharpest of kings left his armory unlocked.
So what? Now that we have armed ourselves, let's make the bastard rot.
Behind you!
And here we indeed see that he's wearing the same thing as Athena was when they met each other. And we get to see how much Telemachus has grown.
And I ensure you'll be spared. After seeing what the king will do to us, we wouldn't dare. I don't want to hurt you, but trust me, I've come prepared. Your very presence is doomed the king, young prince. We don't fight fair. Stop! Brothers, we got company, and he's made a grave mistake. Left the weapons room unlocked.
Isn't this kind of oddly similar to the whole cow thing, where they were like, oh, we are starving and we know that this is the cow of like the sun god, but we're starving and I'm just a man, so I'm gonna try and harm the cow that we can't harm. I don't know why it reminds me of that, but it does.
And now they're ours to take. Brothers, come and arm yourselves. There's a chance for us to win. We can still defeat the king if we all attack the prince. Where is he? Where is
And that also reminds me of, oh, we need to fight Polyphemus together. Like, we have a chance if we attack at full force. Remember when Odysseus was thinking about that in Polyphemus? Like in Survive? Like aim for the heel and stuff? I feel like that is similar to this.
Capture him, he's our greatest chance.
Get off me.
Get off me! Fight till the prince can barely stand.
Hold him down! Hold him down!
Make the king obey our commands.
Hold him down! Hold him down!
'Cause if he wants,
I still feel like he was just like thinning the other suitors out. Because if he was that fast, he could have also gone first. If he knew how to get him to stop fighting that well. He was just like, let me let him thin out the other suitors a little bit before I step in. And then I have less competition as well. I don't know why I feel that way, but...
I'll break the kid's hands. Got him.
Mercy.
mercy.
This is also the thing I meant with we also do not see Odysseus again. So we keep hearing Odysseus being chanted in the background because we cannot analyze where he is in that moment. That's the whole thing of like, with what Blue pointed out of like, oh, they keep chanting until they can actually clearly see the person standing in front of them, and they can like see the threat directly. But with Odysseus, it's kind of the opposite, because he started out directly in front of their faces, and then slowly he got into the background, and that's when we lost sight of him, and that's when we hear the Odysseus chanting. Instead of at the beginning with Poseidon and Polyphemus, where they were like, where is the threat? There is the threat. Okay, now we stop the chanting of his name. But for Odysseus, it's a constant, because we don't even know where he is. We see him as only a shadow here. That's how unpredictable he is. He can't be... They don't know where their threat is at that moment, and that's why they keep chanting his name. Because they're that terrified and trying to search for him. Also the fact that he, like I said, he has only enemies in the crowd. Yeah, except for his son now, but he didn't know that his son had arrived. He only had people he could kill. Like, the suitors had to be careful not to just go chopping around, because if they did, then maybe they slaughtered some of their own. But Odysseus can just go chopping, and it wouldn't matter.
Mercy. My mercy is long since drowned. It died to bring me home.
And I believe, because remember when Odysseus actually took his last breath during the whole get in the water fiasco, when he actually died? Because that's when Odysseus' empathy and everything died. It literally died. It's not a figure of speech, it literally happened.
And as long as you're around, my family's fate is left unknown. You plotted to kill my son. You planned to rape my wife. All of you are going to die. You filled my heart with hate. All of you who have done me wrong. This will be your fate!
And as we know, this is Polyphemus. And Scylla. They're just being rounded up, they have nowhere to run. With Polyphemus they couldn't run because they were all stuck in the cave. And with Scylla they couldn't run because they were all stuck on the boat. So this is literally like Polyphemus and Scylla. I also kind of want to throw Charybdis in there as well, because Charybdis just sucks in the water. So they, like, she sucks in everything around herself and then swallows it whole. I feel like that's also similar because all the suitors are in the same spot and they all get slaughtered at the exact same time. So that was also a thing I wanted to point out here. Also similar, very similar to the entire scene of Poseidon, where Poseidon was taking down all the ships and we could hear all of that go down in the background. It's very similar to all of those monstrous scenes, and it's such a masterpiece. It's just art. It is just art. I have no other words. It's literal art. I don't know what else to say. We're gonna move on to I Can't Help But Wonder. Also, wait, no, he literally also used the siren tactic by posing as one of the suitors. Because if he's posing like one of the suitors, he's pretending to be one of them. And that's how the sirens were pretending to be Penelope. Give a strange sense of comfort. Oh my goodness. Holy fuck. This is going hard, man. Okay. Did I miss anything else then? Also, the amount of choices where Odysseus already had to pick either them or me. Like, it all started with the infant, where he had to pick either the infant's life or his life. Then also Thunderbringer, where he had to pick between his crew and him. Scylla, where he had to pick between 6 of his men and himself. Jeez, man. Also, the moment in, with Circe, where he could have left. Also, keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Odysseus literally took that advice to heart, because he was so close with his enemies at that point. He was literally one of them. Just everything in this entire musical fits together. It's insane. What the fuck? Also, nobody was taking every suitor out, because we didn't even know he was taking them out because we couldn't see them. So it literally looked like nobody was just killing the suitors, I guess. Anyways, am I ready to like move on to I Can't Help But Wonder yet? Am I? I hope Ares was happy with the amount of blood shed, because I mean that was what Athena promised him, so... Okay, moving on to I Can't Help But Wonder. We have Eric Sanford. Hi Eric. The change in mind of Athena is 100% only in epic. Athena never wants a peaceful world in mythology, neither does Odie, for that matter, or Telemachus. Literally the entire open arms philosophy part of the story is an epic retelling. That philosophy would have been viewed very unfavorably by the Greeks, and even more so by the Romans when they retold the story. I love how Eric Sanford just like comes in and just always spits all of these history facts at me. Like, he's also in my live streams from time to time, and he just comes in, like, spitting philosophy and Greek mythology facts, and I love it. He continues, they had, like, 11 words for war, so yes, they did. They considered Odysseus, Ulysses, to them, I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing that the wrong way, to be one of the weakest heroes and a coward for not fighting up front and tricking his foes. Damn. Our boy is finally home, and it only cost 20 years, his sanity, his morality, 12 ships, and 708 Ithacans. Almost 40% of the population. Yeah, I heard him talk about that. That was literally one of the most deadliest events for Ithaca. Like, the third most deadly event for, like, people living in Ithaca at the time. It's insane. Then we have MPEC3IC, I think. I love your interpretation of the monster. I remember watching the live stream and seeing his red eyes at the beginning of I Can't Help But Wonder. I yelled, boy, if you don't put those colored contacts away, you are not the monster you think you are. You just did what you had to do to get here. He made some mistakes along the way, some bad decisions, but he had good intentions. Of course we know good intentions can still hurt people, and they did. But that's something a true monster could never say. Literally. I feel like the monster is literally just a survival tactic. That's all it is. It's, like I said in the other video, it's like the decision to be the hunter instead of the hunted. It is one way to survive, and the only way you know how to like ensure that you'll survive is to be worse than them. It's something you can't really pick. It's a survival instinct. Literally that. It's when you're tired of being the victim. And I feel like that's the same when it comes to like actual human psychology. It happens a lot. Like they say like which is not true by the way, not always true, but like the victim turns into the abuser. I feel like what happens sometimes is like you are so tired of just being the victim that you want to be in charge for once, and you are so scared that if you are not, that you're gonna be the victim again, so you victimize the other person before they get to victimize you. And I feel like that is the monster here. It's a mindset, it's a survival mechanism, it's not who Odysseus is completely, obviously, because we're all human, we are black and white. We are black and white, no. We're not black and white, we're shades of grey. There's different sides of us that come out at different times when they are needed. And that's a really important thing to just keep in mind. I talked more about this in like my reaction videos, but that's still my mindset. I don't feel like Odysseus is completely a monster. I feel like Odysseus has a monster inside of him that has been formed through trauma, but it's not him in its entirety as a person. For Antinous, I am questioning it, because I feel like he might just be a full-on monster. But for Odysseus, it's, in my head, it's a survival tactic. It's a way to survive. It's not him completely. Otherwise, he wouldn't be able to come back to Penelope like that. And he wouldn't still be able to love Penelope that way, or Telemachus. It's a side to you that he developed in order to survive. It's a side of him that he's learned to have because he needed it at that moment. Just like we have like sides to us. We have a customer service side probably that we use when we're doing that. We have a side to us when we're at work. We have sometimes different sides of us when we're in front of different people. We're not just one thing or the other. We're shades of grey. We can be so many things at the same time. And that's the complexity of like human nature in my eyes. We're getting into the last song, which I love so much. Okay, so we're going on to Would You Fall in Love With Me Again? And we have Silent Jack, who gave us a whole whole big message, which starts with, I love both the challenge and the final song show why Odysseus fell in love with Penelope. You see, Penelope had a cousin who in myth was claimed to be the single most beautiful woman in Ithaca, if not Greece, and had many men chancing her. But Odysseus saw and fell for Penelope, because she was beautiful, but most importantly, as the songs show, clever and cunning. Odysseus fell in love with her wit and mind. Penelope, first in a show of cunning, tells the suitor she must first make a wedding veil as a tradition, and every night she undoes her work to stall time. Then she sees the storm from Poseidon and knows it wasn't normal and assumes it's a sign either that her husband is coming home or that it's time for her to pick a new worthy husband. Either way, she knows she can't keep stalling, so she makes a challenge. Her telling the suitors to string and shoot his bow through the axis wasn't a random impossible task. It was a part trick Odie would perform to entertain the guests before the war. She picked this challenge specifically because she knew two things. The bow was recurved, which was rare and could only be stringed if you knew how to do it, which was by bending the bow carefully with your leg. And two, regardless of the nature of the bow, it was still an incredibly heavy bow that required a lot of strength to string when you even knew the trick to do it. And more so to draw the bow. So even if a suitor managed to string it, the strength of the bow made shooting the arrow through the axis impossible. She, in her cunning, made a challenge that no ordinary man could do. It was a challenge for a king. It was the perfect challenge to give, since it ensured that whoever successfully pulled it off was either her Odie or someone who was both wise and strong like her Odie and worthy a king. And secondly, when Odie finally returns, she sees he has changed and is fears of not being the same, so she tests him by asking a question only her husband would know, and showing that he is still, in fact, her husband. I thought that was said so well. That's literally their entire relationship sum up. Please also go back to my other videos for my whole spiel on the whole entirety of the last song, because I gave a really emotional speech there that I really adore myself. The Unholy Born says, to give some context, people already pointed out the significance of the bed. Odie was legit like, I'm not the same guy you knew. And Penelope was like, go move that bed. And he was like, move the bed that I carved. And she was like, you absolute dork. Of course you're the same person. Because no matter what, Odie will be that dumb kid who went to making someone fall for his bluff and thus fell for his wives. Literally. We have Scorpion coming with a couple of comments that I'm gonna read in a row. And it's for you, and then the music kicks in. With, I'm just a man who's fighting for his life. Deep down, I would trade the world to see my son and wife. I'm just a man. But this time in the triumphant triumphs, rather than as a despairing lament, and it cuts off before the part where he recriminates himself and begins to question when he will become a monster. Literally. I feel like it's at that moment he kind of accepted that in fact he's just a man. He's also not completely the monster. He's still just a man. And he was trying to go home, and he literally traded the world. He traded everything in order to get home. I feel like that is the most important thing. Consider all the lovely things Odie has said this saga, both in anger and in pain. We learn he built this place with his own two hands. Before him there was no place here. We learn too that Odie built their wedding bed with his blood and sweat, carved it into the olive tree where they first met. The only way to move it is to cut it from its roots. He didn't just make their bed out of the tree they met at. He carved the tree into what would become their bed while it was still standing there. Then he built the first room of his one-day palace around it to be their bedroom. From there he built an entire palace around that room to be the center, the seat, the heart of his new kingdom. The only reason he rules Ithaca instead of somewhere else is because he founded this place on the foundation of the love of his wife. I feel like he could only love this country because of the love that he has for his wife like that. This bed, this palace, this kingdom was forged by his two hands, all in reference of a woman, a cleverness in reference of a woman of cleverness and cunning who caught his eye when every other man in Greece was pursuing her cousin. Her cousin famed as the most beautiful woman in all of Greece, and it still stands today because his match partner was equal, maintained it, cared for it, nurtured it, and yes, ruled it for 20 years where he was gone fighting the war he promised himself so that he could earn the right to court her. Also a headcanon I have adopted, Would You Fall in Love With Me is of course Odie asking his wife if she can fall in love with him again. But consider the titles of the last 3 songs. The 3 songs where Penelope knows her husband is home, since the story changes it so he doesn't plot the challenge with her. The songs where he fights through the palace is of course Odysseus. The next song is I Can't Help But Wonder, and the final is Would You Fall in Love With Me. Which, while each is very clearly not from her perspective, combine them and you might, well, get a question she might be asking herself as she tears through the palace. Odysseus, I can't help but wonder, would you fall in love with me again? And I find the idea of that, if intended and true, to be a beautiful, genius mirroring of the question he is asking in the final. Literally, that kind of just broke my brain. Like the fact that if you put those titles together, Odysseus, I can't help but wonder, would you fall in love with me again? That's so insane because that's literally the question that Penelope would be asking. And then we have One Thing I Adore having had be pointed out to me since the last video is the way Penelope talks. The way she says you're mine and you're always my husband instead of I'm yours. I'll always be your wife. I adore how assertive she is in her love. It really does make it feel more like she matches him, literally. And I feel like it also, it's saying like, would you love me again? You're mine. It's not I'm yours, because that's not so sure as like, I picked you myself. You didn't pick me, I picked you as well. I made that commitment to you, not because you picked me, because I picked you myself. So you're mine, and I will love you again. I will fall in love with you again. I feel like it's like that, so that's... Anyways, this was the video. I have a lot more content about Epic. I'm gonna be making a lot more content about Epic, so you might as well subscribe. Still got a couple of videos I have in mind that I do want to bring out in honor of Epic and stuff. Thank you so much for watching. This was absolutely amazing. I adore this musical. Thank you all so much for these amazing supportive comments. I love reading them all. They were like so... all of the time. Like, jeez, man. I don't know what else to say. I adore Epic so much. So much. I'm so happy I got to witness this while it was coming out. Not that I just found it as like an afterthought. And this saga it blows my mind. Specifically the song about Odysseus and specifically also the song about Would You Love Me Again. Those two are like my absolute favorites, I think. Like, Would You Love Me Again is gonna be at my wedding probably someday. So stay tuned for that, I guess. Yeah, no, but I adore this. So thank you so much for watching. Please like and subscribe. It would mean the absolute world to me. Also, Munchkin wants to thank y'all for all of your amazing and sweet comments that you gave her. And Rem as well. And Appa too. Thank you for giving my rat so much support as well. And I will see y'all in another video. If you haven't gotten yourself that snack yet or that drink yet, get yourself a snack, get yourself a drink. Let me know what you drank during this video. Because you should stay hydrated. You should take care of yourself. Anyways, have an amazing day. Have an amazing night wherever you are. I hope to see you in another video. And I wish you all the best until the next video. Bye!